Early on here to the women's sports bill that was just delivered?
That just, I believe, got to my desk the last few days, so we have a process to go through. As I've said, I agree with the purpose of the bill and the intent of it, but whenever you're entering into a new area of legislation, you want to look at it carefully just to make sure there's not any unintended consequences. So we're going to look at it, but I agree with the intent of it, and I will continue to study it until we make that final decision.
I want to ask you a couple questions related to legislation. Going back to SB 354, the transgender athletes legislation, you talked about unintended consequences. Is part of the issue that you're looking at what impact this would have on the state in terms of NCAA events if this is enacted? And also wanted to ask you more broadly, you've got this on your desk, you've got the medical conscience bill on your desk, and there's also legislation dealing with health care for transgender youth that's working its way through the legislature. Do these bills, are you concerned at all about the message that they send about Arkansas to LGBT people, especially transgender youth? Do you share any concerns that this will make the state come off as not welcome to this community?
Well, I hope everybody looks at these bills very fairly, and you know, a lot of accommodation has been made in the different bills that are coming forward, and I don't want to lump them all together. There's some that are ones that I would have problems with. There's others, like the women in sports issue, that seems like a very worthwhile objective to attain. I certainly will want to listen to any concerns by others. If there's any NCAA issues, I certainly would like to know about that. And so that's why, because there's so many, we wait till they get to our desk, we evaluate those. I'm giving a heads up that I think that women in sports bill makes sense, but I want to look at it more carefully before I make a final decision. In terms of the overall message, I want the message to be that we want to make sure that everyone is protected, that everyone has equal treatment under the laws. That is very, very important, whether it's transgender or whether it is some other characteristic. And that's the message I hope we can send as a state. And I think one good way that we can do this is to have an effective, what we've called a hate crime bill pass, or where we have increased penalties and time in prison for those that violently target another group, whatever that group is. And I think that's important to balance out this legislative session. I know there's many that are working hard on that, but that's, I hope whenever the session is over with, you look back and see that it was not just focused on one thing, but there was a lot of substantive issues that were accomplished and a good balance. And then I hear another question from a TV